Hello, this is Black Country Blokes chewing the fat. Listen. I've been hearing a lot lately about men don't talk, but in my experience, men do talk, just people aren't listening. So it's going to be me and a group of blokes discussing our struggles and victories through life. Warning, there may be some bad language, so apologies to all the moms, especially my own. Let's get going. Listen. This is Black Country Blokes for me, Kev Dillon, Lee Cadman and Barber Ben Taylor. Now, I've known Ben for a very long time. Whenever I need a bit of advice or picking up, I always go to this man. And we've been talking over the weeks about, in schools, how whatever I pick in life, as soon as I leave school, I'm going to be an electrician, I'm going to be a boxing instructor, and how much bollocks that is. And this man is a prime example. He's gone from job to job and he's mastered everything. And now he's managed to set up his own Barbers RnL Gentlemens Barbers on the Wallers. So, Ben, just tell us a little bit about all your journeys and different professions and just a little bit about you.
Well, first, I ain't mastered none of them just yet.
I was trying to sell you up.
Yeah, I've done a number of things. Like you say, when you're young and you leave school and at 18, you know how the world works, do you? You've already mastered it, you know what I mean? I know what I'm doing. And then by the time you're 22, you realise you're on the bounce of your arse and I got a clue, you know what I mean? But yeah, I've done a number of things, like, you know, as well as working in factories, foundries, gyms, sweeping the floor, cleaning the showers. You know, met some lovely blokes, some Irish boys from the gyms, pestered the life out of them because I seen them in the fancy cars and the nice suits. I was about 17 at the time, so I couldn't get a professional licence, but I could be a steward. And I kept on and on and on. And eventually the one boy says, "Oh, with my man down, we'll let you come with us." Like, and that was the CP work that I got into. And I did that for a number of years. Went from 17 to 23, I think. I did that and went up through the ranks, so to speak, with the team that I was working with. Got all my qualifications, worked with some big names, sports figures, artists, footballers, musicians.
Close protection?
Close protection work, yeah.
So from the doors to close protection?
Yeah. Well, we did a bit of stewarding, like line organising and taking care of the queues and people who wanted one thing and another. And then obviously the same in any career, you work your way up. So we did that, and I worked with a number of people. That was brilliant, but the same as everything, things change, new faces come on board, younger stock, if you like, comes on, and the magic and the stuff that you used to enjoy just don't interest you no more, does it? The same as everything in life, I suppose. It starts getting a bit stagnant. I become a dad at 22, carried on going in that career until Nicola, we started trying for Lily, my second daughter, and then I decided it was time to knock that on the head, because really it's a single man's job. At the level I was getting at, it was either stay where you am, which I do very well, or move away from it, because as a dad, you can't really progress because you're away for weeks. And
is it a dangerous job as well, I can imagine, or you get moments, or is it? Yeah,
it's more like glorified babysitting 90% of the time. You gotta know what you're doing, obviously, but it's minding. It's like, you know, if you go into a nightclub, you're not thinking, are they going to get shot straight away? It's more, if you're with a model, you don't want to go from one end of the nightclub to the other. You need to know where the exits are, where the toilets are is a massive one. You won't believe it, but you know what I mean? It's more like you're managing their movements but keeping them safe at the same time.
Who are some of the names I know you've mentioned to me over the years you've worked with?
Like I've worked with people who I don't wouldn't remember, or done well in their own rights, but like Calzaghe, I worked with Joe Calzaghe.
What was he like as a bloke?
Sound, boxer, fighting man. You know, he's like one of your own, when you're talking to a man like that, he's just on the level. Nice gentleman. He was just easy to work with. Nice bloke. Worked with Evander Holyfield. the sport's got the best side of him, I think, when you actually talk to him, as we all know.
Such a shame, isn't it, when you have a legend? Like, he's on about making a comeback at 56 and can't even say his own name.
It's got to be money, hasn't it, at that
But
point?
it is.
I was young when I met him, so it was really more starstruck than anything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a nice guy. A lot of entourage with them Americans. Like, you got the one guy who's surrounded by his own people, so you struggle to get any, and the Americans are here, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're at you straight away, so you struggle to talk with them. Footballers, as everybody who knows me knows, the old England team could walk in and I wouldn't know who it was. But apparently,
I think that's all of us in this room.
you know, Peter Crouch, we worked with him, number of footballers apparently. But to be honest, some guys who I met in the trade, it was all about who they've worked with, who they've worked for. It was all about the bravado and all this, that and the other. I'll be brutally honest, I did it to make money. You know what I mean? And that was it. I did it, and I did it well. I studied the job. I got it done. And I just wanted pain at the end of the job. And that's what I think, why I did so well so quick in that field, really, because I wasn't flabbergasted by your car or the watch you was wearing or anything else.
Well, you're a real man, aren't you?
Well, you just want to get paid, don't you? Do my job to the best of my ability and pay me, an honest day's work's worth an honest day's paying, and that's what I wanted. So
when you said, like, I remember when we were talking in your barbers, you were saying about one of your favourite ones, and it really surprised me because the media portrays him as being a gobshite.
Yeah.
Do you remember who we were on about? Katie Price and
brilliant.
And Peter Andre.
Fantastic.
Now, Peter Andre seems like a nice bloke, but
he seems fake, don't he?
fake. And
Mate, one of the most genuine, nicest human beings I've ever met in my life. Genuinely, what you see is the real thing. Like, he is an absolute star. We got a team of about 15 lads on that day, and he refused to leave. Most people who you work for, well, I've got minders, blah blah blah, I'm going, they get in the car and they go. But he wouldn't leave until he thanked every single lad. That was from the young stock who barely knew where his shoes was, to the old boys who was an old hand at the job, like, and he thanked them dearly. They did a fantastic job, brilliant. Katie Price, business. If you want to learn about business, watch that woman, because she has got it weighed, sewed up in a bag and put in a drawer. She knows the game. She knows what game she's playing. All these people are going, oh, fake fucking this, or, she ain't doing this, she ain't doing that. She's selling you exactly what you're buying. And she's selling it, and you're buying it, so who's the idiot?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And she's made a very, very good living out of it.
So I remember you saying to me as well about, just changing the subject a little bit, but still on the same thing, when you were saying, like, how some of the young stock, they want it, because I'm a doorman, and they tried to bully the way through it, and one day you're wearing normal clothes.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell that story?
Yeah, it was when JLS first come through the X Factor, because that's where a lot of our work come from, was Psycho label, which is Simon Cale's label. I was looking after that job, and because we was like floating in and out, talking to different people, one thing and another. Our thing was all our boys had to be in blacks, and all cracking lads, brilliant boys, 90% of them. Sometimes you had lads coming from different walks of life, people who would help you out, weren't really on your team. And I couldn't always remember this one chap, I'm not saying no names, but he looked a little bit of an enhancement in the gym, shall we say. He was quite a lump. And
there's only so much protein powder you can
well, there you go. A man can't eat that much chicken that's fucking facing. And I see him like not pushing people about, but we all know what I'm talking about when you're like using your presence to make other people feel uncomfortable. So I've gone to go into the venue and he's actually put his hand on me, not knowing who I am. So therefore, in his eyes, that's either a member of the public, a member of somebody else's team, a member of because we was in like a precinct type thing at the time up in London. It could have been anybody, and the big thing, let's face it, in this day and age, if you put your hand on anybody, there's a good chance you might be having some porridge, you know what I mean? And luckily for him, it was just me, which then stopped him ever working for us again. Like so, but yeah, and that type of thing was never nothing that I nor the team that I worked with was ever about. You know what I mean? We was about taking care of people, not bullying people.
Well, a good doorman's like a good referee. A good one, you don't know is there.
That's it. Well, the
Let the
thing
night
is,
or the boxing match go on and let it run seamlessly. A bad referee, it's all about me. A bad doorman, you've had one too many, and he's putting his hands on you, and that starts the fight, doesn't it?
Yeah. And what we tried to veer away from on our team, the old boys, like the ones who I first got into it with, who I love dearly, they weren't about that. They weren't really. A couple of them was old school doormen, the boys who you're talking about, like the boys who you'd have one guy on a club, everybody in the club knew him. He kind of sat on his stool and had a glass of water, and because he was kind of, they respected him, they didn't fear him. He was like, oh, Big John is in here now, we ain't messing about. They was the boys that I started with, but these new, we kind of tried to veer away from this new age doorman, this full of gear and, you know, got a better tan than my missus and all the rest of it. And what bright white teeth and a shirt that would fit the little brother and all the rest of it. Because that's like the main job that we used to try and do, and what I tried to do, studying the job, was you diffuse the situation.
Yeah.
You know, you diffused it before it becomes something, and that's the only way that you would become good in that line of work. The only way, because the thing that I used to say to people, you knew him straight away. You'd meet the geezer and he'd be going, oh yeah, you know, I knocked 17 out there. Well, I don't need you on my team, because if you can't fix a problem without knocking him out, you're the wrong man for the job. And that's as simple as that. I would promise a man the earth. I said, I can get you to meet these, no problem. I'll get you some sort, blah, 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 blah. I know it probably sounds terrible, but once my principal's in the car, he's no longer my problem. I've diffused that situation. Once my principal's gone and I'm in my vehicle, I've then been able to do all that without any altercation.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the way we was brought up to do the job. And you would do, like, you know, I forget the word what you use now, prevention rather than cure. Yeah. That's what we wanted, you know. It's never good to have a team of, or say, minders, however you want to portray it as, rolling about the floor in the mud.
Yeah.
It looks terrible.
It makes your
nobody
client
will
look
employ you.
Yeah,
it just looks horrendous. Yeah. It's terrible. We've had a few over the years, like when I was in it, you know, where you had no choice but to become physical with them. But to be honest, there was few and far between, because your greatest tool is your mouth and your brain. And if you can put them both together, there ain't really a lot you can't get yourself out of, you know, if you use them correctly.
You ever watch that movie Clubbed about Jeff Thompson and the doorman's on, and he says a man on a drum can scare away an army of 300 if he knows how to play the drum right.
That's correct.
Because just play it loud and play it convincing and they'll bottle it.
Yeah. And that is exactly the same. Like, we had the big guys, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm as fat as I've ever been in my life now, but when I was in that, I was like 10.5 stone. You know what I mean? So I had to use my head and my mouth, because I didn't have the, you know, you had to be convincing and know your shit, if you know what I mean, because you couldn't
go. Presence as
that's it. And the only way to have that presence was to understand what you're doing and use your mouth and use your brain, and you know, you'll move that guy to here, or you can see if you've got somebody who's coming through and they're in a wheelchair or they're elderly or something, go and get them a chair, go and give them a bit of space, move something around. Or, you know, if you know that you're going into a nightclub with a principal, you know, if you can see that people are looking, but you know that them people, if there's 5 there and they're really looking and they want to have a look, well, in 2 hours time they're going to be wankered.
Yeah.
So then we're going to escalate something. So while they're sober, come on up, then I'd bring them over, let them have the meet and greet. They go off and have a brilliant night then. They've already had it. If I take them to 3 o'clock in the morning and they're flooring all over themselves, then we've got a situation, you know what I mean? So you just got to use your head, and that's why the big meathead was never for our job. Like, you know, there's some big guys in the job who are very good, don't get me wrong, and you need them. You know, if you look at half these American bodyguards, Jesus Christ, they come from dinosaurs. They're not men, they're colossal.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, the smaller the principal, the bigger the minder. It's just impressive on the front of the paper. But
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at most MPs, let's not get into that kind of stuff. But if you look at them kind of people, you never see their minders because they're shadows. You know, the grey men. That's what they're called. You shouldn't be able to see them. Margaret Thatcher's minder was one of the most notorious minders known, but very rarely could anybody ever spot her. Yeah,
I wouldn't even
and she
see
was
it
a
on
female.
a photo.
She
And
was
how many
incredible.
photos have I seen of her?
Yeah. She was one of the most photographed people of that time, and very few people could pick her out. Like, she was incredible, and that was the side that interested me. It was the monotonous side of it. You know, can you get from A to B without upsetting anybody, but still keeping everybody safe? And that was the big thing. The big shadow man was never something that anybody in our team really inspired to be. Really, that was.
So once you come away from this, and you went obviously you had your second born, and what did you fall into then? Because it's got to be odd. I mean, you do the right thing, being a daddy and a husband and all this, but then you still think, well, it's still nice to have that bit of credit and meeting, you know, Jordan and Peter Andre.
Yeah.
And then what did you go into then? Have to take a step back?
Yeah. Well, I went into an iron foundry, believe it or not, and that was a super. Not down by any means, but like, you know, it's a massive change, and that's why with the minding I rarely talk about it now, because it's a past life, you know what I mean. It was brilliant, it was great, but it was then, and that's that. I see very few of the lads. See them now and again, but I see very few of them. But yeah, I went into an iron foundry down in Lye. It was good, some cracking lads there. I still see a few lads come into the shop now. And we had just as much crack, you know what I mean? Because there was good boys, covered in shit, working a night shift. Everybody's tired. Nobody really wanted to be there, but the wages was good because you was working through the night. So, you know, you sung your way through. We used to call it the Green Mile. Man, it was a shithole.
But real bloke. It's a shit job of real great blokes.
It's a proper black country man's job, ain't it?
Yeah.
You know.
It's getting few and far between now.
They are, yeah. But they are. They've got a foundry up at Black Country Museum, and I promise you, it's still the same. It's still the same. They're still on the back of the cut, because that's where they used to get the water from back in the day. But they still put them on the back of the cut now. The one on the Lye is the back of the canal. The one in Brockman's on the back of the canal. It was just. No, sorry. Yeah. No, it was the train line, the side of Lye, because that's how they used to transport theirs. And the one on Brockman's on the canal to transport theirs. But yeah, it was good. It was really good. I did enjoy it there, you know, but it was only ever going to be a period of time for me in that kind of work, because it was good for, I think, how long was I there? Lily was born while I was there, so I was probably there a year and a half, maybe. You lose time, don't you? I don't know. I was there for about a year and a half, maybe. And then they made us redundant, because we was like a skeleton crew, and in a foundry, that's basically you getting on top of what the day shift couldn't finish off. You know what I mean? It was only a small group of lads, cracking bunch of lads. Like, you know, there was the odd knobhead about, but
there always is.
There always is, isn't there? It just gives
especially when I'm in the room.
Gives everybody else somebody to talk about, though. Let's face it, you know. I think they actually employ that dickhead just to keep everybody else occupied.
A common enemy.
That's it. But as a rule,
stopping and moaning about the bosses, then.
That's it. But as a rule, they were a cracking bunch of lads. But we got made, like I say, we got made redundant from there, and then I went from there and doing a bit here and there. I think I went to a couple of garages and painted a floor, and I don't know, done some rubbish jobs, or, you know, just I had a period where I was like here, there and everywhere, trying to make a bit, do a bit. That was only for a month or so, and then I got into the horses. Then always been into my horses, but I went to how did I come about it? I think it was just advertised, I think. And I went up, and it was just a yard job, you know, cleaning the stables and looking after the horses there. And I went up, and it was in Bridge North, and they offered me the job, and I did that again, even lower pay. But I kind of think sometimes, ain't you, for a peace of mind, you got to take the less money sometimes. You know what I mean?
I'd imagine less pressure as well.
And you're doing what you want to do, and you're waking up, and there's nothing worse in the world when and I've done the jobs when I was even younger, like in a factory or a warehouse, where you don't know anybody there, and it's shit, and the money's shit, and the gaff is shit, and you get to Sunday night and your stomach starts going over because it's like a maths exam's coming, and you just think, I don't want to live my life like this, and that's what I did. So I just vowed never to do the stomach churning thing again. If I don't want to do it, I don't do it.
Because like with the horses and everything, you come up with a lovely expression, and you're saying like when they say go and break my horse in, you said I don't break them, I fix them.
Yeah.
I thought that's such a lovely expression.
Yeah, well that's the horse game, innit? Unfortunately, anything that can be exploited will be exploited at times. You know what I mean? And good many we've had seen. A fella that I used to work for and with, sometimes he used to fix them, and then I went on to doing a bit of harness work myself and had a few in for clients and broke them to harness and stuff. But yeah, there's a good many men around the world and around not too far away that not my way of doing things, but it's their way. So
she was trying to explain to me about horses, because I know as much about football as I know about horses. And you were saying their naturally thing is to run. You said,
oh yeah. It's a flight animal, isn't it, at the end of the day? I mean, I won't want to bore you about horses because I could talk to you about horses all day long, but they're a flight animal, aren't they? So, they don't need you for anything. Any animal on the planet, all they want to do is eat and reproduce, and they don't need you for either, because the food comes out the floor, and the other we don't want to get into. But going into the psychology of an horse, like what I learned from them people who I went to work with were great, and what they taught me was impeccable, really. Just normal horse people, who have been around horses for a long time and studied them in the sense of just owning them, and you're watching them, and you're watching them in the field, and you have the problems come your way. You just got to be a student of life here sometimes. And and they are a flight animal, so if you've got a creature that's designed to run away, because the brain of an horse is the same as a deer or a sheep or a cow. If you walk up to a sheep, it don't go, all right, mate, how's it going? You know what I mean? It tends to piss off the opposite way because it don't need you for nothing. And the same with an horse, until we get them into the safe, they want to be with you kind of thing. So if you've got a young horse and you get somebody who's trying to break it roughly or trying to be a bit heavy-handed, and you put a piece of strap around his face, put it in a concrete room, your stable, and shut the door, well, it's going to shit itself and it can't go anywhere, you know what I mean? And if you're nervous, even more so, and 9 times out of 10 a fella who's got to use force to do something is because he knows he can't do it any other way, so he's nervous as well. We'll always end up in a mess. So.
What was that lovely saying you said the other day, from the rain to the brain?
Down the rain into the brain, yeah. It's the only expression I can give you for that one is, if you've got one of my children, you stood on a road, there's no vehicles anywhere in sight, but if you can imagine, you hold the child's hand and go, oh shit, the child will naturally look at you and go, what's the matter? And that's exactly the same as any animal, you know what I mean? If you panic, the animal will panic. That animal's designed to run away. Yeah, it just will. It wants to get out. If we put a piece of iron in his mouth and a strap round his head and a saddle on his back, and then you go, well, I ain't really got a clue what I'm doing. Well, the first thing that animal wants to do is piss off as far away from you as possible, because you're going to get it killed. Like, in the psychology of an horse's brain, it just wants to get out the way. You know what I mean?
But that saying, I mean, that reflects so much, like with boxing and everything.
Yeah.
When you're taking your lad and you say, like, we're going to go and do this today, but if you sit down and go, how's you going to get on, Kev? Well, in all honesty, I don't fancy our chances here. You've put your fear onto him.
Yeah.
And I see that so much with the parents. I'll say, Ben, how you feeling? You go, I feel great. And his dad will come and go, I haven't slept all night. And you see the kid getting greyer and greyer. By the time he's got in there, all his nervous energy just taken over, and he flops.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're not that different, are we? Because we're not designed to rape, rob and pillage. It's a learnt behaviour.
Yeah.
Like our hands aren't designed for punching.
No.
They're designed for hanging off trees and picking up things. So we've had to be taught to fight, to box, to do what's natural.
Yeah.
Unless we're backed into a corner, then we survive.
That's it, yeah. And yeah, it adds on to a lot of things in life, though, that sense down the rain into the brain, like your child, you know. If you're nervous, that's the expression I give to people when I'm trying to, not that I teach people anything, but when I'm explaining to them about horses or they ask my opinion, and the same with a dog, you know. A guy come in the shop the other day and he says, I got this, I think it was a collie dog, and he says, I got this dog, and we was down the pub, and he's not very good with dogs anyway, his dog, and but I seen this dog walking up the road, so I've like pulled him closer to me and wrapped my leg around him so he can't, and I said, well, you've just told the dog that there's a threat, you know what I mean, you have to be, you know, it's the same with that thing with a child, and if you just go across the road, we even look up and down the road, but if you go, oh shit, she looks at you as if to go, what's the matter? You've automatically put fear that there's no reason for it to be there, and rightly so. It's with people, with creatures. We're all the same. We're all animals. We've all got a brain and a heart and a nervous system the same way. You know what I mean?
But how many times have we done that to our kids? And a lot of times.
And each other.
Yeah, we don't mean to, but like, oh yeah, we're going for an injection. It might hurt. Instead of going, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Or you frighten a bird, and a bird. How many times accidentally we put our fears?
You think you're saying the right thing sometimes,
Yeah.
you know. You don't realise until you put it that simple, because that's simple, isn't it? The
Yeah,
way
yeah.
you put it. Until actually someone tells you that. Like, I think myself, how many times I've gone to the kid, are you going for an injection? Or, you know, you'll be alright.
Making a big
But
deal of
you're
it.
making that worse by going, you'll be alright. It's injection at the end of the day.
I think if we just, the way I'll try and be with, I mean, the worst thing in the world is tell somebody to be a parent, innit?
Yeah.
But with my creatures, my horses, my dogs, and my kids, dare I say it, you know, these things are going to come, aren't they?
Of
you know,
course.
if I've got a dog, I'm going to want it to go in the motor. I'm going to want it to go down the park for a walk. I'm going to want it to do these things. Instead of making a big deal of it, we just got to try and make it normal. Normal behaviour, the same with an horse. I'm going to want to break it, so we just let them see everything that we're going to, instead of trying to like shield everything from everybody.
Back to crossing the road, we have to point out, if you do just skip across, you might get mowed down.
Yeah.
It's the education without the fear. Say, danger is here, so we have to look to our left, our right, and left again.
That's
but
it.
it's not putting that constant, oh my goodness, oh.
Yeah.
It's education. This could happen. This is how we do it safely.
So you do it before him in the middle of the road, basically.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Then after your horses,
Yeah.
what got you? Where did you go from there then? Because I know you still with your horses and your dogs.
Oh yeah. I did the horses for a long time. I did that. And then I got into doing my own horses on that yard. The lady that run the yard, brilliant. She pretty much let me have as long as I did my work and did what needed doing on the yard, she kind of let me do my things. So she let me have other horses in to break them in my own time, but let me use her facilities. So I kind of built my own little thing that way. Was breaking horses for different people to harness and working with horses that are a bit troubled or got problems or broke in the wrong way. So we had to fix and put them right. And then the horse job, if, like you say, not many people who don't know about the horse job will know, but like about 6-7 years ago, the horse job proper hit rock bottom. You know, the price of horses went all the way to the floor, and we all found it real difficult to make a living from it. So then I went back to school. So to cut a long story short, we did the horses. We had met some great friends, did that. That wasn't working as well as it was a year previous. So I went back to school. Well, I went back home, had a word with the missus and said, I'm going to go back to school and do something new. And she's like, nah, you can't do that, just go to work. And I'm like, nah, we go back to school, see what we can do. And I always fancied barbering, to be honest. So yeah, the same day we had a bit of not an argument, but a discussion, as you do as young parents, going, can we really afford to get to school, you know? So I jumped in my motor on a Wednesday, drove to Dudley College. Dudley College says, oh, we don't do it, but West Brom College do. So I drove to West Brom College, and look, as it was the enrolling day there, and I walked in and enrolled on a barbering course, and the rest was history from them, really. Luckily, the guys that I worked for on the yard with the horses gave me free rein and allowed me to do my course. I was allowed to twice a week go to college, then go to the horses later and do my shift. They was fully supportive, basically, and let me do my thing. And then about 6 months into my course, a gentleman that I knew for a long time said that I could go and work in his barbershop as like it's a unisex hairdressers actually. I went in there every Saturday for a few months, just washing hair, sweeping up, making cups of coffee, all the rest of it, you know, getting to know the customers. And then he took me on as a trainee, and then I left the horses.
It's hard when you're going back as a bloke, you know, 16 yards. Sometimes you think this is what's wrong with this generation, isn't it? They don't want to start sweeping up, doing a granny a rinse, making Bert a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And it's even hard when you're a bloke.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I think the brutal honesty of it is, if you don't, you won't get to where you want to be.
And that is so true.
Plus you've got a family to feed.
Yeah,
ultimately.
yeah. I mean, there was guys in there who come in my shop now, you know, and we laugh and joke about it now, but I can remember them coming in going, the fuck you doing? Saturday morning, you know, as we used to call them juniors, as a junior, but at 20 odd years old with 2 daughters, a missus and house, umpteen dogs and horses to keep on. Like, shit, I gotta make this work, you know. So yeah, I was in there on Saturday mornings, free of charge, sweeping up, making my relationships with the customers, and, you know, washing old ladies' hair, making cups of coffee, answering the phone.
Learning your trade.
Learning my trade from the bottom up, like,
That's
you know.
the strength of character, isn't it? And I think a lot of people, the X Factor generation, I do 2 years of college and I want to be the MD, the master of it, and you're going, hang on, Bert, you got to learn how to work in our environment. Yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir. Yes, I'm doing it for nothing. Until you learn that trade, because information is the best gift we can have. And if you can pick someone's brain for nothing, learn all these tricks of the trade, and then pinch it, recycle it, upcycle it, and it becomes your ideas.
Yeah.
That's where we create beauty.
And you learn what they do wrong as well in the process of that, and hopefully you do it right after.
I think from people you can learn what to do, and certainly you can learn what not to do.
And that's just the greatest lesson, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And that's what I think, when I was younger maybe, but I've had some great mentors, you know, from the security work, them old boys, Preston, the Irish boys, Simon, Jerome, Gordy, Wad, Big Paul, you know, there was all older guys like my parents' age, and they was great mentors, you know, and they'd let you fuck up, and then they go, well, you know, not too much, but we'll give you a little bit. The same in the horses, Charlie, Della, a number of people, they were great mentors. They taught me a number of things, but if all you're going to do is keep talking, if you talk, you can only say what you already know. If
2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Yeah, well, there you go. And that is it, innit? You know. And the same with Graham, who taught me to cut out, Graham and Paul. Another 2 great friends of mine who taught me my craft that I use today. You know, you've got to stand there and study the man. A big thing that I say to my brothers and a number of youngsters that come in the shop, if you want to be a professional boxer, what the fuck are you doing on the golf course?
Yeah.
Because you're in the wrong place, aren't you? If you want to be a great barber, go and find a barber who's good at his job and follow him. If you want to be a good horseman, go and find a good horseman and study him. If you want to be a good minder, go and find a good minder and study him. But you have got to start looking after the car as I did. You've got to start shoveling the shit out the stable as I did. And you've got to start sweeping the floor as I did, because there is no elevator, there is no quick. Nobody's going to go, oh, here's a shop, there's your clippers, you already know what you're doing, crack on. It don't work.
And now that you've found, since you've got your own place, the hard work just carries on.
Yeah, it's graft, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, you think, oh, I'm grafting now, I'm in college. No, mate. The graft comes after, when you've got your paper, and then you've got to convince Kev, John, Paul, Steve and everybody else to give you their money for you to cut their hair. Okay. No, mate, because he's been doing it for 40 years, I'd rather him. So then the graft starts again, you know what I mean? It's the same with the horses when you wanted to, really want to get into that professionally, earn a living from breaking horses, then you got to convince somebody that you're good, not convince them, show your worth to that person that you can do that job right. And there's no other way than sweeping the shit off the floor. You've just got to... one thing that I always use, mate, you don't become the king without sweeping the floor. You, in any craft, I don't care if you're the best coach, the best barber, the best horseman, the best chippy, the best bricklayer. I guarantee all them boys had to start from the bottom, looking up to somebody who they learnt the craft from. But yeah, the problem now, I don't want to knock the younger generation because I think they're brilliant. Some kids who come in my shop, honest, they're an absolute credit to society. They're lovely, lovely boys. But I think at some point, somewhere, we've allowed them to go, you ain't got to do that, we'll do it this way easier. And the truth is, there ain't an easier. It ain't. You can make things easy by doing the hard things. And I know that sounds fucking ridiculous, but it's right. You've got to get up early Saturday morning, be there before everybody else. You've got to be in early Sunday morning and clean your shop, make sure it's right for Monday morning for you making the money again. You've got the big growth, the big bricks that you're laying down, the big stumbling blocks that you're going to come across is done when nobody's watching. And that's the hard bit, and that's what I find. Again, not trying to knock these youngsters, because we need these youngsters to come up and carry on with whatever craft they want to do, because they're in the future in everything. You know what I mean? 15-year-olds today, I'm the future in 10 years' time, who's going to be building your houses, doing your blood tests, fixing your motors, putting your tyres on, everything else. I don't want to run these youngsters down, but we have got into a mindset that you ain't got to do the graft, we'll do it this way. And the truth is, it just don't work. You've just got to slog it from the bottom.
That way as much now either. Like, you're going to school, or you have to be in some kind of education till you're 18. There's not many people now. Like at 16, when I left school, I went straight to work. People don't do that now, do they?
No.
You don't have that. And ultimately, school and that type of learning is only for certain people.
Well, none of us learned from school, did we? We've all had our true education through life.
Oh, definitely. Definitely, and you've got to continue to be a student of life, ain't you? And of
I
the
think you
people
can forget
around
that
you.
sometimes as well.
Oh, definitely. And I think we all, as grown men sat here now, we all have to check ourselves in at times and go, hang on a minute, there's something to learn from this geezer here. I'm going to sit down, and you may not sit there with a pen and paper, but you can go, fucking hell, I like that. I'm gonna steal that. And there's nothing wrong with that, is there? You know what I mean?
Everyone's done everything before you at the end of the day.
Of course.
You're never going to be the first to do it, are you?
Oh, good God, no. And yeah, rightly so, But the big problem there, going back to the kids not being able to work at 16, I don't want to get into the politics of things, but as me having my own place now, you try and make it legally to bring a 15-year-old into sweep the floor and work a Saturday morning, because he goes, well, or if you want to say, you can't even do that now, because now if you give a kid 20 quid, he's got to pay his stamp, he's got to pay national insurance, he can go off sick and you've got to pay him for 12 months. Nobody's going to take that on. When I was 14, you worked up the butchers for old John.
That's right.
For 30
Knife's
quid.
in your hand.
That's it, for 30 quid.
£1.50.
And if you don't turn up, mate, he'd bollock the life out of you.
Yeah.
He'd absolutely... You'd be
Ultimately, it's his
tears
business.
in your eyes, yeah. But I mean, if you did that to a 15-year-old now, oh man, they'd string you up.
Yeah.
He used to send me up the shop from Walter Smith's in Briley Hill. He used to go up the shop up the road and fetch him 60 B&H gold.
Yeah.
I was like 14, 15. Now, you'd have to send him out with a group of minders with an IV's vest on and all that.
All holding
walking
hands.
up the air. We used to wash knives, sweeping the floor.
God forbid if you got run over.
Yeah,
You'd be done.
Another gentleman I used to do work for when I was like 13, 14, friends of mine, they owned their dad owned a shed factory. And we used to go down and dip the fence panels, and he'd give you 10 or 15 quid. You can't do that with a kid now.
And in it wrong.
You daren't,
I
it's
remember being
frightening.
on the building sites, playing around in JCBs when I was a kid and things like
But
that.
kids aren't learning. When you're doing that money, it was dangerous, whatever. But that was your £10.
Yeah.
Like nowadays, we were saying, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, saying kids aren't allowed to have pocket money to take it, like the pound, and you have to work out, I can either have some chips or a donut. So you'd have to work out how much your mum or your dad would give you, and you'd have to figure out what you could buy. I could have some Space Raiders at Chomp, or I could have my dinner. Nowadays, it's all on thumbprint. So it's like we're teaching our kids to have credit cards. Don't worry, just put it on tick and mummy and daddy will pay it off. Instead of going, well, that pound has got to last me all day.
Yeah. I mean, I do admire people who I had to think that way. You know what I mean? But
it's a life skill, isn't it?
It taught us ever so much, Dave. You know what I mean? I couldn't underline, read, rub out, or draw a straight line when I was a kid. You know what I mean? At school.
Yeah, but you knew how to work, and that's why you knew.
That's
got
it.
your
Like,
own place.
my reading and writing has never been a great strength for mine. It's still horrendous now. Like,
But that's why we phone without text.
There you go. Exactly true. You know, but I can still learn. You know what I mean? And that's the big thing now. And I think that a lot of kids, young uns, you know, without going into the educational thing, which we all know that I have a great thing about, if they can't do it a certain way, they're just labelled as, oh, well, you ain't no good. You know, and ain't there a load of bollocks? What a load of shit to teach a kid who's, you know, if a kid's brilliant at painting pictures, why aren't you telling his shit? You know, if that kid loves music and can hear things that you can't hear and take it in.
Famous saying, you wouldn't call a dolphin stupid because it can't climb a tree.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. And it's very true, isn't it? Very, very true. You know, a thing I use, because I talk to a lot of youngsters and I want them all to believe in themselves, because I truly believe that they are all fantastic and got their own abilities inside them, whether they can read or write, do algebra or dance, or, you know, I've got one child that is absolutely incredible with a pen, paper and book, but she's as supple as a brick. And I've got another one who can't take it in because her mind's so busy and she's active and she's like, I ain't got time to read a book, you know, but you put music on for that kid and she's like a butterfly. You know, which one's stupid? You know, it depends who's taking the study, innit? If we're taking it from people who want us to work in factories, press the buttons, make sure that you're on time, can work a computer just enough to get it out, or is it the woman who owns a dance studio and says that kid's got something? Which one's wrong? I don't know. Just because two people are the total opposites, it don't mean either of them are wrong. You know what I mean? And I think we have to be careful, very much so, with children like my children's age, which is the only thing I can go on because they're the ones that are around me the most. I couldn't tell you how different now. They're just total opposite ends of the spectrum. Like, you know, it's just totally different creatures altogether. But
Still both wonderful.
Oh, incredible!
You know what I mean?
In their own ways. You know what I mean? They're brilliant.
But I'm going to pull us back onto your journey. So you're working there, sweeping.
Yeah.
Then tell me the next journey, like, so you started working for someone.
Yeah. So I went to Graham's, worked there. He taught, him and Paul and Tracy taught me my craft, really. You do your college, but you learn on the shop floor, don't you? Did all my big mistakes there, like the clipper head coming off the clippers and holding somebody in the back of the head and all the rest of that stuff. And they, you know, taught me how to be around people and the correct manner to have and stuff like that. And then I slowly built my own clientele base up, small clientele base up, and then kind of started running on my own and got my own chair in the shop. And, you know, people was comfortable coming to me and sitting in my chair and having their hair cut and one thing and another. But I did say, when I first went to college, before I even worked in that shop, I'm having my own place. You know, it was never a question of if I get my own place. That was never going to be the case. It was always, when I get my own place, I'm going to do this and one thing and another. So I was comfortable, I was doing my work, I was happy with my work. Customers, I was getting good feedback from my customers, and then I just thought, I'm going to try and have a crack on it on my own. A number of things happened in and out of the shop, personal things, and I decided I'm just going to have a crack at it. So I was looking at different places to have my own little spot, to have my own place. And another friend of mine who's been another great mentor, only for a small period of time, but a massive impact. He owned little bit of land down on a trading estate where he'd got a calf, and there was a patch of land the side of his, and he says, why don't you just put a container on here? And I was like, you can't have a Barbers the side of a calf on the outside of a trading estate. And he says, well, why? And I was like, yeah, why not? You know, there's people around, it's a trading estate, plenty of people there. So we did, and he got an old container in his yard, like a little porter cabin office type thing, 3 windows. I forget how big it was now, probably. I think it was...
The smaller than my boxer ring, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, I think it was 10 foot long by 4.5 foot wide, maybe 5 foot wide, something like that. We plumbed the sink in, painted it grey, put a piece of lino in, stuck some stickers on the wall, put a barber chair in, and opened for business. And that's where it started. And we hadn't got a pot to piss in, genuinely. There was no secret stash or we'll be all right, we got this put away. It's actually on the wall of the shop, isn't it? £113.04 is painted on the wall of the shop now. That's what I got in my pocket Monday morning when I opened the cabin. And yeah, we just run with it. With butterflies in your stomach, shitting yourself in case you can't pay the house rent and the rent for the cabin and the bit of the ground rent that I give to my pal, which you don't expect, but you got to pay your way, you know. And it's just gone from strength to strength from there, really. And then we was there for, I lose track of time, for a small period of time, 6 months maybe a little bit longer. And then the shop that I'm in now come up for rent, which is, I don't know, 15 houses away from where I live. He phoned me up, I've been after the shop for a while, kept pestering him, you know, like I said earlier, if you want something, keep chipping away. When it, you know, not trying to go off it, but like the worst thing about not being able to have something is that option coming your way and not being prepared for it, you know what I mean? So I made sure I'm ready, I kept on at him, I'll have it. I don't know how I was going to have it or get the money together to have it, but I said I'll have it. And one day we was in the cabin, coming up to winter time, and I had a phone call off of my missus, like it says the gaffer's just been, I'll call him the gaffer, the landlord of the shop, had been down the house and said, can you ask Ben to ring me when he gets back? And I went straight up the shop and seen him, and he says the shop's available. And virtually without looking, like, you know, I shook the man's hand and we took it on. But it wasn't in the prettiest of conditions when I got it. But my team, as I call them, they all know who they are. They just helped me out endlessly, tirelessly, with all my stupid ideas and late nights and early mornings, painting and building things in the shop, because I never do anything straightforward. It's always got to be a bit weird and quirky. And then we built RnL, the shop that we're in now, and it's still young, still a one chair shop, just me running it now. But yeah, we've come strength to strength, and only just over a year on my own, and we've gone from the cabin, going on my own in the cabin with 1 chair, 3 waiting seats, that's all we got, and now we've got the shop. Nice big shop, pool table, kids play area, plenty waiting area, TVs, radios, all the rest of it.
But you're a man of the people, aren't you? Because you realise they're not only going to have for a haircut, but if the babbies are happy, they can play a game of pool, or the little ones have their little play area, the family's happy. And if you can keep on side with the family, they'll keep coming back.
Oh, you win, innit? Yeah, if you can keep that little whippersnapper with a smile on his face, so his mum and dad can actually sit there and have 10 minutes without... You know, the shop as well isn't one of them places, and I've worked in them and been in them where the mum and dad's, shh, keep quiet. My shop ain't that shop. You walk in and let the kid go. You know, the stair gates everywhere. Can't get anywhere to hurt yourself. You know, don't send the kid in and then go to the pub. But like, you know...
Yeah, babysitting.
Yeah, you know, they can come in. It's lovely now, because like you got an handful of kids off the estate and they're walk up the road from school, and you can see them running up the road to get in the shop to get a sweet before the mum comes past to cuss them, because they know if they come in the shop they're going to be able to... They go, all right Ben, and I've got a drawer on my desk, and they know which drawers the ones the sweets in, and I say, go on, quick, get a sweet before your mum comes up, and they get a sweet, and they get to eat it as them going up the road before they have the tea, so the mother calls him, you know. And I'll probably get hung for doing that. But no,
But how old,
The phone calls later.
yeah, that's it.
but how old school. But what a journey you've had from this lad who left with virtually no education, you know, no qualifications, to going on the doors, to close protection, to the horses, to the dogs, to working as a sweeper upper, to own your own business. And this is what I want to tell people. Just enjoy the ride of life. It's not the destination. We spend very small parts on the destination.
Yeah.
We have our whole life on the journey. And if it's not feeling right, try it. Try something else. If that's not right, try something else. And if you're blessed, then settle until it's no longer fun.
I think just progress. That if anybody ever said to me, and we only learn this through moving on and making mistakes and doing things that you shouldn't be doing, but worked for you. That's learning, innit? That's life.
I think also you've got to acknowledge the hard work you put in, but also the people and the mentors that you've found.
Oh, the company that you keep is the most valuable thing that you will ever do. And I'll say that to I don't care if you're a millionaire, if your mom and dad give you everything, you had Bentleys when you were 17 and you've been brought up in an 8-bedroomed house. If you surround yourself with arseholes, you ain't going to get nowhere fast. And it is that simple. The company you keep is absolutely paramount to your future. And I truly, truly believe that. 100 million %. I don't care if you've been to Harvard. I don't care if you're a billionaire. If you've got dickheads around you 24/7, it's
going to bring you to that.
Yeah, it's just it's law of physics, isn't it? It just, you can't get away from it. It will be, if you put that in front of yourself all the time, you will slowly become yourself doing them things. If you put yourself around people who are successful in their own rights, and I don't always talk success as in money, because money makes the world go round, but I think success is a lot bigger thing than financial gain. I mean, people who are truly content in what they do day in, day out.
Yeah, no matter what the money.
Yeah, I really do think that's where you thrive, that's where you grow. That's where the growth is, when you find them people, and you got to be happy to go. And sometimes you have got to get rid of people, and it might be a lad who you grew up with for 20 years, it might be your best mate, God forbid, might be a family member, it might sometimes even be your wife or your husband or whoever it may be. But you cannot spend your whole life with people who are just negative and pulling you back and going in a different direction. And that's why I say that, saying, if you want to be a boxer, what you're doing on the golf range. You know, if you want to be successful, why am you messing with bums? Why am you around people who can't teach you nothing? It's just pointless to me.
And I think that's the perfect way of ending our show today. So I'm just going to leave Ben to say one of his famous quotes that he always says to me every time I talk to him.
Stay safe and be lucky.
So until next week, gang, ta-ra a bit.
Listen.
And that's a wrap for another show. But if there are any comments or messages that you would like us to read out for our next podcast, please be in touch. There are also lots of different organisations at the bottom of this page, and hopefully they can help you or someone you care about. Please share this to spread the word. Until we talk next time, ta-ra a bit.
Listen.